How you doing, Branson?
Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
All
How about
right.
yourself?
I'm loving this weather. I tell you, this low 70s, clear skies, it's a real treat.
This is that great Eastern Carolina weather as long as it lasts.
Well, I take it a day at a time, you know. I don't worry about it too much. It's actually pretty mild around here based on where I'm from.
You're from the Chicago area?
I originally was born in upstate New York up on Lake Ontario, north of
Ooh,
Syracuse. Yeah, it was
yeah,
pretty
that's
insane.
cold.
Yeah, and incredibly snowy. We were right on Lake Ontario and or right off Lake Ontario, I should say, and it was people always talk about Buffalo, and we got on average about double the amount of snow that Buffalo got. We were just a small town, so no one ever talked about it. So I'm really glad I don't live there anymore. And I left there when I was 9 years old, so it's been a long time. I grew up in the D.C. area, and it was pretty mild certainly compared to upstate New York. But we had a fair amount of snow every winter, it seems like. And but down here, I mean, spring really starts in February. I know it's a little bit early, but it's happened several times since we've lived here. That I asked my wife one day in February. I go, "What do you guys call this?" And she looked at me. She said, "Spring."
Hmm.
February? Okay, great. I'm all for it. Sign me up.
When I was about 17, I remember one year we didn't have a winter.
You're
It,
kidding.
it yeah, it like the coldest it got was maybe 65. And I remember because at Christmas, everybody in the neighborhood had shorts on and we were playing basketball. Uh,
Is that great? I love that.
and it was in my father, he had stayed in California for a while, so he was like, we're having a California Christmas, and I didn't understand till later on, like, you know, because it used to be cold around here, and as times changed, the coldness kind of went away because we used to get big snows when I was a kid, and then by the time I was a teenager, we didn't get big snows. um, we started getting ice storms, and from ice storms, Um, I think I like the snow better because the ice storms, we used to have bad power outages for like a week or so during the ice storms, but now it's really a mild kind of climate around here.
Yeah, ice storms are really the worst because even four-wheel drive is absolutely useless, and morons keep thinking because they have four-wheel drive that they can drive on it, and they can't. So that's one thing I've noticed. Snow, you can drive four-wheel drive on it, but ice, like you say, the power lines and the other thing that ice does is it damages so many trees normally. Um,
Hmm.
it's just not a good thing. But we haven't had, have we had any ice in the last couple of years? I don't think so. I
No,
don't,
no.
yeah, I don't think so. So, you know, I think it's a, I used to go to Florida a lot. I had friends who lived down there and I'd visit them every winter. And, it is definitely nice. And they were way down on the Southwest coast. So it was tropical really. But after a while, even they started saying, we really missed the seasons. And, day after day, it's just the same. And I think that gets old. So I don't know. Each their own. When I used to play golf all the time, that was a priority, whether be good enough to golf. And now that I don't play as much, I don't really care about that. And I think the weather around here is really fine for almost everything as far as hiking or like riding, any kind of outdoor exercise is relatively easy to do in this one. So, hey
Hmm.
Sarah, how are you? Time, welcome, Peanut Man.
Good morning, Mr. Dennis. I hope you had a great weekend.
Yeah, no complaints. How about you?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good.
Now, do you slave away every single day making treats?
Just about,
Wow.
just
How
about
many
every
hours a
day.
day do you spend doing that?
I try to get done by lunch, early afternoon, usually about two
Okay.
o'clock.
And you start
So
at 3 in the morning?
no, generally about 7:30.
Man, I'll try to find this, but I was reading about a company in Charlotte that makes pimento cheese. And it's four friends. I guess they were college friends. I'm not quite sure. And they started, hand making this pimento cheese.
Yep.
Uh, and they're still doing it. He said now they get up at 3 a.m. every day and they make the handmade pimento cheese. And they're in 2,000 stores around the country.
Yeah,
But they can't figure out a way to not do it by hand because they say it just tastes so much better
Yep.
than trying to produce. I guess you deal with that as well.
well, that's part of the concern about scaling up and finding a co-packer or doing it on a much grander scale. That it's going to change it to some degree, but if they don't know what the home version is, then does it matter?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it does change. It's not quite the same.
Do you see return customers? Is that pretty common for you?
Yeah, we do. We see a lot of that. Yeah, in fact, I've got people that have got my direct line now, and they just hit me up and they'll order a case at a time and take it home, put it in the freezer, and hang on to it till they order every 3 months. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Have you ever thought of like having some kind of club where people could sign up?
Yeah, I have, but I would like to be able to do a version, switch it up every month, 6 weeks or so, to offer them something different. And I just haven't been able to come. I can't add that many products to the product line and keep up with everything that I've got going on. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but we did change our focus this year. We're not going to do any of the farmers markets, and we're concentrating solely on wholesale. So, which is moving in the right direction. So.
Okay. Do you use Fair at all?
No, we have not, because in order for us to make that happen, we have got to get out of a home kitchen because we're still under cottage laws. So we've got to work within the confines of North Carolina.
I see.
So yeah, that's the next step, is to get it out of here and figure out how to scale that up to do that. Because I was talking with Craig and John, and they told me, they said, you know what, you can increase your business 20, 40, 60 fold real quick. And I'd have a hard time making that work under our current situation. So.
Yeah. Hey, Amanda, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for your comment on Fair. I know several people in the class use them successfully. And I think there's another one, ReadMe or something like that, or
Never heard of that one.
the state, the agriculture department promotes. I'll try to find the name of it, but it's a Range Me. It's called Range.
Yes, I've heard that
Yeah.
one too.
And I think they're somewhat similar to Fair.
Yeah.
Hey, Teresa. Hey, Sarah. How y'all doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. Okay, so
Hello.
today, hey, Teresa. This is probably going to be our last week of class, just fair warning. I'm not sure exactly what the day will be next week. It could well be Monday or Tuesday. I'm working on that with ECU, but what I'd like to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about live streaming e-commerce and give some examples. And we've kind of played around with this, and several of you have had some decent luck with Pop Shop Live and some other things that we've tried to do. But it occurs to me that when I first got involved in e-commerce, believe it or not, it was 1996, a long time ago. And I had a high school friend who was in the basically computer parts business. So what he did is he sold computer parts to the federal government. So he would work with like the Department of Labor, and they would need a new hard drive or a new monitor, or whatever. And that's what his company did. They supplied that kind of stuff. And all of that stuff came from, there was 3 or 4 companies, big companies, that provided that kind of stuff on a wholesale basis and had big warehouses and all that kind of stuff. So these guys would work with those companies, and they find something in stock, and then it would be shipped to their customer. So they asked me to help them figure out how to put it online. So in 1997, we launched a essentially computer parts. It was called clubcomputer.com. And you could buy all of that stuff. I think we had over 800,000 SKUs that could be bought from a database on a website. You know, what we basically did is we copied Amazon, right? At that time, Amazon had just kind of come out. I think Amazon came out in like 1995, if I remember right. Could have been 96, but somewhere in that time frame. So the business model was, you know, essentially a catalog, kind of like a mail order catalog, only it was online. And so it was just, you know, search and all that kind of stuff. And so search was really important. And, you know, pictures of the part, in some cases was important. In other cases, they didn't care because they knew what the part was. But anyway, the model was very much like Amazon. And if you look at it, it's kind of been that way for a really long time. It's still that way for the most part. There are a few little things here and there that have changed it, but essentially the model is to put up a big catalog or a catalog and have people search. There's a lot of emphasis on search engine optimization. You know, discovery comes from search, not from browsing, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're seeing now, and I think it is really early days, but I think that because of the performance of live streaming e-commerce, and when I say performance, I'm talking about conversion rates. So when we were doing Club Computer, we actually got up to 50 million in sales on that site, which is insane if you think about it, 1997. But it still was only about a 2% conversion rate. So all the people that came there, only 2% actually bought something. And that number has stayed pretty steady all these years. Like Shopify puts out some statistics and they're very top. I think I forget how many, top 100,000 or some large number. They average 2%. 2.5% is considered a really good conversion rate. Amazon, I believe, is around 3% as a company. So that model has kind of stuck. Well, in the limited things that we've done with live streaming commerce, we've seen conversion rates as high as 40% for some of the people who participated. And pretty consistently, as I keep up with the industry, what you're seeing is pretty consistently numbers like 15% conversion is not uncommon at all, with some way up higher. But generally 15% is considered the number at this moment in time in the US for live streaming e-commerce. Well, that fact makes it no question that this is going to explode and going to be a much bigger part of the future. Why would you spend all your time on something that gets 2% conversion when you can get something that gets 15? It's plain old economics. So there's no question it's going to happen. How it'll happen and all of that kind of stuff, still kind of being contested, if you will. But I don't think there's any question that you're going to see more and more of it. So today we're gonna meet a lady who makes basically cake molds, fancy cake stuff, cupcakes and all that kind of. She doesn't actually make the cakes. She just makes stuff for the cakes, I guess the best way to put it. And she's in the UK, and you'll meet her and you'll see what they're doing. But this also is an episode where they go into how do they do it? What's the technical setup? So you'll be able to see how do people set up their cameras, how do they set up their lighting, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully everyone will enjoy that. So let's give that a shot. Okay, there we go.
And video in general using Switcher Studio. So I'm Dan Petrick. I'm one of the co-founders of Switcher Studio and the senior product educator.
Just so we
And
No,
I
listen,
have
I
some
can't.
awesome guests with you today.
No, I
So
can't change
I'm just going to go ahead and bring them in, and then we can talk about everything that they're doing out there. So welcome Richard and Zoe of Zoe's Fancy Cakes. So first of all, thank you for joining us. I know the time changed a little weird. It's probably getting right there at dinner time for you all there in the UK, of course. And yeah, I think you could tell from the title, but they make really awesome cakes. So I was telling them earlier when I was asked to host this live stream, I started checking out their YouTube page and their Facebook page and their website, and I got more and more excited because the stuff they're making out there is awesome. Do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves and maybe talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Zoe.
And I'm Richard.
Richard does all the technical stuff. I don't have a clue how you do anything technical whatsoever. And I decorate cakes. I don't do a huge amount of baking, believe it or not, but I decorate cakes. But we have a cake decorating business where we run classes. We have like free tutorials, paid for tutorials, and then we sell cake decorating supplies and equipment as well. And that's basically what we do.
Yeah. So yeah, we just like to make videos and sell products basically.
That's excellent. Yeah. And somewhere along the way, you found Switcher Studio, and we're really excited that you did, and that became part of the everything y'all are doing. So let me first of all say thank you everybody out there as well who's tuning in and watching this live stream. If you have questions as we're going along for Zoe and Richard, please put those in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer some of those as we're going along, talking through all this fun stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of jump in, but before we get into the meat and potatoes of live stream question, I guess it's not. We're talking baking, right? It's not meat and potatoes. It's what? Flour, sugar, milk. Is that right? Eggs.
Eggs, yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. But before we get into those, let's start off with more of a fun question. So, fancy cakes. Do you have maybe a favorite design that you do, or just a favorite cake in general that you've made? And all of them. And for those of you who haven't seen it, go check out their YouTube channel, because there's hundreds of cakes and they're all amazing.
Oh, thank you. So now I get asked all the time this question, and I think everyone's always disappointed with my answer because I forget all the ones I've made. I've done so many different ones, I tend to forget. And every week I have a different favorite. I think what was your favorite?
To give you a bit of an idea, we got over the years, we've probably got about over 550 video tutorials on cake decorating. So there's a lot of cake videos out there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think my favorite was, Tracer from Overwatch. I did
Okay.
I did a Tracer one, but it wasn't for anyone, and it wasn't even for a video. I wanted to do it for fun, so I think that's why it was my favorite.
Had the UK connection there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you made a life-size centaur as well. That's
I
in our
did make
living
a
room.
live centaur. I wouldn't say it was my favorite. It was very stressful.
Yeah, I'm impressed too. Like whenever I see someone building a cake that is this fancy, I'm always amazed, because it's like at the end of the day, it's going to be eaten. It's going to be gone. So it's like all this amazing effort and work putting into something that's going to be consumed in the end. So I think you're seeing right now a Chewbacca up there. I like that one. That's one of the more recent ones, correct?
Was that last week's?
Well, it was when
2
it was
weeks
on
ago?
May the 4th, so Star
yeah,
Wars
wasn't-
Day. So
wasn't long ago that
yeah.
was-
Okay.
Yeah, and that was one of the ones for the Facebook page on the Facebook Lives.
Mm-hmm. And I'll mention too, you guys are going live tomorrow at 6 p.m. your all's time. So that's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think it's a giraffe. Is that right?
Yes, I've got it with me, but I don't know if you can see it on the Can you change our camera angles from there or not? I don't know.
Oh, you've already got it there.
Yeah,
Well,
I got
we did it. We did
yeah,
a
can you see it?
Yeah, there you go on this one here.
It doesn't look very nice from the side. It's more front view that it's. That's what we're doing.
Very cool.
It's got a bit of a short snout, so it's not very nice side. But
I love the facial expressions too. Are great.
That's what we're making tomorrow.
Excellent. So yeah, if you guys want to see this happen live, and we're gonna start talking through your all's mindset and how you come up with these ideas and everything. But if you guys want to see one of these,
I just want to take a second here to point out something that's going on that might be helpful. So this is a split screen. You can see the person doing the interview as well as the guest. You see them on the screen. And they've also made an effort to put a background on here that promotes what they're doing. So it's a little different than TV, from the sense that you just have something on the TV and you might have a few things crawl underneath. This one, there's an effort to identify who they are, a little bit of decoration here in the background. The other thing that you noticed a second ago, we watched them making a Chewbacca cake, and that was also split screen. So you saw the cake being made on fast forward or whatever, or higher speed. At the same time, the interview was also. So these are just some things I just want to point out to you that are helpful in doing this kind of thing.
Productions happen live. Make sure to tune into that tomorrow at 6 p.m. Is it UK? Like, what's the time zone?
Yeah, UK time.
UK time.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the live streaming stuff. So when did you all begin live streaming, and what kind of drew you to maybe, I guess, doing video in general and then the live video component on top of that?
Well, video in general, we started actually with YouTube, didn't we?
Yeah.
A long time ago, probably even before I started it as a business. And I was making cakes to sell, like, the cakes to people. And people were asking all the time, like, how did you do that? How did you do that? And I was fed up of typing out how I made things, because it's difficult to explain things in text.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother said, why don't you film it? And I thought he meant, so I send people the videos of me.
Just one more observation. Maybe these people are rocket scientists, but notice that they are both wearing NASA shirts. So I just can't let that go. Sorry.
He says, no, you put it on YouTube. He said, you film it and you put it on YouTube. So that's where it first kind of started, wasn't it, really? And then from the YouTube, we got requested for actual face-to-face classes. So until coronavirus, we were doing a lot of face-to-face classes, and I travel all over the world to teach him. Just the decorating part, not the baking, more just decorating. And I would think, did we do many on Facebook? We didn't really do many on Facebook, did we? We got a lot of requests from people saying, will you do the Facebook Lives? Everyone else is doing the Facebook Lives. And I'm not very up to date with, like, technology at all. I'm rubbish with technology. So I kind of avoided it for a while, doing them through, like, Facebook. And then when coronavirus happened, I think we'd maybe done one, because we had a guest teacher come, and she wanted to do one because she used to do the Facebook Lives all the time. So she persuaded us to just do one, and we'd just done that one, and it was it. And then when coronavirus happened, we were like, well, maybe we should give it a go, because we had to cancel all our face-to-face classes. It was like a year's worth of work, really, wasn't it? That got cancelled for us. And I thought, well, we'll take things online. We'll do these Facebook Lives as, like, free videos for people. And we started with 2 a week, didn't we, initially? And,
2. We're doing every Tuesday and Thursday mornings. When COVID, for like lockdown 1 happened, or COVID 1, so back in February, March last year, I think, was when we first started the Facebook Lives.
But we couldn't believe how popular they were. So, but they've gradually kind of. We take it to 1 a week, and I just, as from, like, this month, we said we're taking it down to 2 a month, just because we've got a huge amount of work on. And I was doing them mornings, so that I was at the shop anyway doing them. But I think now that more people are back at work, they're not viewing as much in the mornings, more in the evenings, and I don't have as many evenings free to do as many of the lives.
So is it like I say, because it's just changing the times, and obviously your audiences. Obviously, the last year people have been at home a lot, whereas obviously people are back in work now. So it's just finding a perfect time to catch people as well, really.
Yeah, you kind of.
Another quick observation. So they started off with twice a week, but they were almost like a show that people could count on. They could schedule, and then what happened is they actually got so busy making stuff to sell that they just didn't have time to do it twice a week. But I just wanted to point out that consistency is important. It's not just once in a blue moon, some sort of regular pattern, so that your customers can kind of, count on it.
Jumping ahead, I was going to ask you about that, and that's a great segue to that point. Just talking about finding the right time to go live. So you guys were doing it at 10:30 just because people were home. So can you maybe talk about did you look at certain statistics? Was it viewers live, views overall, or anything? Or are you just kind of making guesses and seeing how it goes? Or
At first, it was what we found easiest for us, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was because it was the free videos.
Mhm.
It's different, like if we do, because we do Facebook Lives in private groups as well, and I
Okay.
do them as paid for classes, so they're far more detailed than like the ones that we just do on our main Facebook page, or the ones in the private group. So those ones we do think about the time a lot more, and we make sure that, you know, it's a time where people are back from work, or certainly
Mhm.
the UK. I know it doesn't work for everyone's time zone in other countries, but within the UK, it's sort of after tea time or about the evening. Oh, you call it dinner time, I forget.
Yeah, dinner time.
I think it's just because we're northerners in the UK that we call it tea time. But yeah,
Okay.
dinner time. Yeah, so those ones were more kind of thought about time wise, but then the Facebook Lives during the day, I didn't want to go too early because I wanted her to have time to come into work and set up a bit. But they're not very planned, are they really? I usually most of the time make it up as I go along. Tomorrow's is different. I did a practice one, so that I had a
Okay.
picture to show everyone, but usually I decide about half an hour before we go online what I'm doing. And yeah, 10:30 just kind of gave me enough time to get into work, get set up, have a quick think about what I was going to do. But I did not really consider too much whether people would watch at that time. It was just convenient for me.
Just like we're gonna do it this. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, so when you're planning, you say you just kind of go in and do them. Is there anything that you kind of plan for to make sure people are able to follow what's going on when they're watching live? And is there any key differences between what you have to do on like a live video versus what you're doing in person?
So the live videos are good in that I don't have to set up a classroom, so I don't have to get out enough tools and equipment for every single person that's attending. Like they can just sort themselves out, and I don't have to clean up the mess from everyone after the class as well on a live, which is always nice because it's quite messy out there, the classes that we do. I would say, like, again, there's a little bit of a difference with when we do like a live stream in a private Facebook group where it's paid for one to when it's the free ones. The free ones, I don't give people a list of what we're gonna use in advance, whereas the paid for ones in the private Facebook groups, I will have already made an example one. I would have weighed out all the materials and things that they're going to need and all the tools and equipment, so they will have got a full list of everything they need, and I'll go through it a little bit slower as well. Whereas Facebook Lives that we were doing weekly, the free ones, I would kind of, I'd tell, so we've got a member of staff called Emily that she watches them and she put links in as I go along for people of what I'm using. So I usually give her a rough idea of what I think I'm going to use, which is probably really frustrating for her because I usually end up using different things to what I've told her. But yeah, as we go along, she will put in links, and especially if people will say, oh, where can I get hold of that thing that you're using, that tool? And she'll just put a link, which is linked to our shop because we sell most of the tools and equipment that I would usually use anyway. So she's very good with that. And it means that like I don't have to watch the comments on the video. You do watch them, but you're not having to worry about kind of going to another website page to find the links and stuff. So she looks after all that for us. And I got completely sidetracked and I talking about something different, and I forgot what the question was.
Oh, you nailed it there. Yeah, I was just asking about the differences between baking in person and versus online, and you hit that, and that's just kind of your live streaming plan. And it's funny, you know, our worlds are both live streaming, or that's one part of it. And it's funny to hear you talk about, you know, you coming up with a list of ideas or things that you probably will be using. So, you know, someone watching along can help out and put those in and keep up with comments. And that's very similar to how I do. I'll set up and do webinars on how to use Switcher Studio and do other things and talk through, you know, maybe a specific part of the product. And I will tell people, or like, I'll usually have a couple of people in the comments as well. And I'll give them the articles I think I'm going to be referencing, so they know to put those in the comments. So it is interesting to hear how it can be a similar process. So yeah, as the title of these streams are, it's the Made with Switcher. So you all are obviously using Switcher. Can you talk a little bit about how you landed on using Switcher Studio for your live streams?
Well, did a bit of Google research. Because when we first decided we were going to do some live streams, as much as we've done videos, neither of us are like super technical into video production. So I did a bit of Google research, and obviously a couple came up. We had a trial with Switcher Studio. It's pretty much, I think it's the first one we even trialed, to be honest with you. It worked with all our devices. It was swift, efficient. It did what we needed to do. I could work it, which was a great bonus. I mean, it sounds daft, but when you're doing something new, you don't want to be worrying about, oh, how do you do that? How do you do that? It was quite self-explanatory. I think even over the years that we've been using it a year now, Switcher Studio. Like in the time that's gone on, there's so many little tweaks that have come on here and there that have made it a bit better, a better experience as well. But the fundamental is it's a nice, easy to use interface that I think most people can do. You don't need a huge amount of equipment either. I mean, like when we first did it, we had an iPad and an iPhone, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? And over the years, you get a bit better iPad, you get a few other bits and pieces, but you don't essentially need much equipment to work with it and look professional at the same time.
We've got quite a few mobile phones, haven't we, that we use for the videos, but that's because I'm a bit of a hoarder, and every time I get a new mobile, I keep the old one in a drawer, which turned out really handy because you can use them now for loads of different camera angles.
Sure.
Well, that's it. And that was the other thing, because of what we do, cake decorating, you want a variety of angles that you can stream at the same time, because you want some top down, some sideways. Are we frozen? Are we all right? Some top down, some sideways, other angles as well, so you can kind of get them all in one screen, which worked really well, didn't it? Made us look fancy.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I'm gonna just reintroduce you guys in case people are just tuning in. We have Zoe and Richard here, Zoe's Fancy Cakes. They're doing live streaming and all that fun stuff, showing how to do cake decorations, and it's really, really awesome stuff. So yeah, you kind of mentioned a couple things there about your switcher setup, and I saw Ryan had some B-roll up as well. You're showing your setup. We have that are you set up in the studio now? I know you have that second device. Is that to kind of show off the setup, or is that something we could see?
Shall I move one of the cameras?
Well, this one, I think this was on. So yeah, for this one,
yeah,
you can see a little bit of how we would have a typical setup. So we kind of got microphone hooked up. Obviously, we use a MacBook anyway, just for me working and checking what.
This is usually my workspace. So usually Richard's laptop wouldn't be here. It would be kind of over there at the other side. So he would sit opposite me with all the sort of the iPads and the laptop. So I would just work in this little bit of space here.
Yeah. And then we use the iPad as like the main system for like tweaking between screens and putting your little logos on and all those sorts of things. And then we generally got like a couple of Archon mounts.
You want me to move one of the cameras so I
Yeah,
can show
so
you?
you can kind of.
We work in an absolute mess. It's a bomb site here.
So we kind of got like.
that's everybody. That's everybody. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got like a couple of Archon mounts. So we can move the cameras up and down. Another little stands over here as well. You can see.
Have you got that one on?
No, it's not one. It's not switched on, that one.
Oh yeah, so this one's.
But yeah, we
Just a little one as well that usually props up somewhere. Depending on what I'm making, depends on like where we put the different cameras, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's not this.
Just take a second here. So if you look, they have this iPad next to their MacBook, and that iPad actually is the controller for the various cameras that they might have set up, and which in their case are iPhones. So in this case, you could change the view, you can add text and logos and stuff like that. That iPad is how you do that in this particular software. And this microphone here, this gray microphone, that screen that's in front of it is actually designed to stop pops and crackles when you talk. Sometimes you'll hear a static sound or a popping sound or whatever, and this screen is intended to limit that. But as you can see, this is not a super big space. It's a relatively small space. But this iPad is kind of the master controller, if you will. And the reason that makes sense is because it's a touch screen, and the regular Apples are not. So with the iPad, you can touch the little gray squares that you see on the screen. I know we can't see them that well, but those screens represent different views, and you can just touch it and it'll switch it which is why they're called Switcher Studio in this case. But I did want to point out the setup. Notice how many devices they have plugged into their thingy behind there. Scary.
Not well, I don't know. It's like organized chaos for one of them.
Yeah. Hey, it's whatever's going to work for you all. How about your lighting? Do you just use natural lighting, or do you have some lighting extra light set up?
Our lighting's really bad. We do actually have extra lights. They're not on at the moment.
No, there's one over. It's like a big. You can probably see over there.
Okay, yeah.
It's not on. We keep thinking about buying one of those ring lights.
Mm-hmm.
Because do they make you just look nicer? Or are they more flattering the ring lights? I keep seeing people using them, and they always look nice in the videos.
That's what I've got. That's what I'm using. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but I have one.
Lovely today, yeah.
But also because where we are, when we used to do the videos at 10:30 on a Tuesday morning, we've got an online business, and like because our shop's quite small and it's kind of grown, we literally film in the middle like boxes and picking and packing orders everywhere, which is why we're trying. It's all crammed into one little space because we've just got stuff everywhere, haven't we?
Yeah.
But it makes it fun.
I would love to see everybody who's out there doing live streaming from like a home office or a small office. I would love for them to take a picture of what they look at, not what's behind them, because I'm like that too. There's cables everywhere. There's gear everywhere.
Well, that's it. It makes it. It's real, isn't it? That's how
it's real. Yeah. So, one last question, I guess, on your setup then. When you're live, is there any like specific switcher features that you use and kind of rely on or like a ton? I'm curious as to hear.
I mean, I quite like. Obviously, it's me that tends to look after the behind the scenes.
He likes the drum roll.
Okay, so the sound effects, yeah.
The sound effects, yeah, they're quite. That's quite a new thing that's coming, I think. The effects are nice. We use obviously the fade ins, fade outs, have a couple of screens on or 3 screens rolling at the same time.
You can't. Can you see it on there? I don't know for the things. You probably can't, can you?
We can kind of see it over there, yeah.
So like, for example, battery's dying. So like, obviously using all the transitions, we use a lot of transition features. Those sorts of things we use all the time, don't we?
Did you already say countdown?
Yeah, well, that's yep.
And then the little pictures.
We have little pictures.
Obviously, I'm really technical. I know what nothing's called.
The picture, yeah, multi-views.
Yeah, when we use like when you drop in like you sort of like you know when you put your little icons on and bits and pieces like that, your logos.
Oh, lower thirds, yeah.
And the other thing that we use quite a lot is when we ask the audience questions. So obviously we use the polls and the voting on it, which is quite good as well. So you can set the polls up in the system, so then people can tally up and you can see it. Also, quite like we get a few cheeky viewers, and you quite like highlighting their comments on the screen as well.
So
yeah. We see.
See, I don't see the screen. I see what I'm working
you saw
on.
the cheeky comment. Yeah, there you go, just like that.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, so it's always quite good. So stuff like that, and it engages with your audience as well, because that's what people like to say. They like to watch, but they like to know that the comments they're being looked at as well.
Yeah, speaking of comments, everyone, I'll mention again, we're with Richard and Zoe of Zoe's Fancy Cakes. So if you have questions for them about how they're doing anything, you can put your questions in the comments and we'll be happy to get to them. I do like how you're talking about your setup. And that's one thing I always like to mention to people is you don't need a ton of gear to get started. Like you said, you just started off with just like the one iPad or an iPhone and can slowly grow into it and make it the full production that you want. So,
yeah. I mean, I would say from having done it a little bit now, the only thing I would say is you want to have a decent amount of memory on your devices you're using. So I think that is, if you're saving the footage, because we obviously back up our footage when we're shooting, so we can use it to edit later on. For other purposes, but yeah, as long as you've got a decent sized memory, I think that's probably the one thing that I would say is useful to have.
Yeah, that's excellent, and very good advice. That's on my pre-live checklist, is making sure every device I have connected has enough storage on it, because the last thing you want to do is plan an hour-long stream and 15 minutes in, you're like, uh-oh, I'm out of space. What am I going to do? So. Cool. I'm going to switch gears on you guys a little bit. So that's a whole bunch on the live streaming side of things. But you mentioned you also have this online business as well. where you're selling the products you're using. So I'm assuming the live streams are kind of also a demonstration on how to use these products and how they can be useful. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we try and rather than doing the video specifically around a product, I'll have just decided to make something and it'll be whatever products I use for what I've decided to make. So I still choose what I want to make rather than specifically picking particular products, if that makes sense. We tend to find like if I'm doing one that's just for promoting like a single product and I'm testing a product, for example, there will be people that really want to watch it. They were interested in that product, but we don't get as many views if I try and sort of push it as a product thing.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we don't like to do the hard sale. So it's like, do you know what I mean? We'll be using products. People will ask, like say Emily that works for us, will link all the products that we are using, so they are there.
Yeah, people do always ask. People will say, "What's that you're using? Where?"
What they're talking about here is really a definition of engagement, because they don't make a hard sales pitch. They just use what they use their products and that's what they're trying to sell, but they have an engaged audience. So they don't have a need for a hard sell or anything like that. It's a little bit more of an equal relationship between the audience and you as the presenter. And I like that. I think it's an important key to selling live is just not, you don't have to hit everyone with a hammer. It can just be in the context of what it is that you're demonstrating.
I get that from, and then we can put the links in the comments, and it works best for us that way rather than me kind of hard sale trying to push a product on someone.
But yeah, I mean, it does help with the online side of the business that we do have. So definitely we always see a big spike in sales after we've done the Facebook Live, which is it's always nice to have.
So other than just using the products, do you incorporate the live streams and the online business together any other ways or?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if you could look back, we just had a website up there. What we tend to do is we put we'll put videos that we've done using like recent Facebook Lives. We'll put them through to our website, and then there'll be like underneath it, there'll be bars of the products that we've used in the the video.
That's been used in that video.
So people can see videos that we've used and the products that we've used. They can buy them like as an easy place to find on the website, which does help.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. Do you have any tips, I guess, is another great question for all the people watching on our Facebook page here, or maybe watching afterwards on the YouTube channel. Do you have any tips for streamers looking to incorporate product features into their business?
Ooh. I think it's
I think you kind of mentioned one earlier that I like, which is maybe don't make the live stream be about the product, because people I don't think want to, like, if the product's good, it's going to sell itself, right? And you're just going to be able to use it and show how effective it is.
Yeah, I mean, I use a lot of the same thing each week. So often the regular watchers will have already purchased the things from us, and then they like that we're using it again because they're seeing as many different ways as possible that they can use a product. What would you say about? I mean, I'm not a saleswoman at all. I'm really bad at selling stuff. I watch like other cake decorators that you can tell that their thing is selling products, and I watch their videos compared to mine, and it really is pushing the products. And mine aren't really.
Yeah, no, we're not.
I would say mine aren't.
We're a bit of a softy sales, but
sure.
But I guess it's like you say, people can see the products you're using, you can see what you can make with those products. You kind of always think, well, if you buy those, you've got to, when you can use them to make something that we've just done. So you kind of get in a free how-to video, plus you can pick with these things.
I mean, usually at the end of the video, we kind of give people an update. So those that only wanted to really watch for the free tutorial, they will have probably gone at this point. And then the regulars that like to have an update on what we've got in, we usually sort of say to them, oh, we've got this new in stock this week, or we've got this coming in, or I'll show them a new color range of sprinkles and stuff. So the hardcore followers like to watch that, and then they're also getting an update of what we have got new in the shop, but it wasn't predominantly in the main part of the video. It's all saved to the end. But what we started doing as well, actually, is, and I'd forgotten about this, we've been running competitions each week. So I have the paid for classes, and each week or each time we've been doing a new live stream, I've been asking them all to send in pictures of like their work. We pick like a theme. So this theme that's currently running is like a Star Wars one till the end of tonight, I think it is. So they have to share with us their pictures of their Star Wars themed cakes, and then I announce the winner in the next live stream. Sometimes the winner's watching, sometimes they're not. But I always thought it was like a way to encourage people to watch each week, where they think, oh yeah, watch this week and we'll find out what you have to do this week to get a free class. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting, and that's very helpful. I saw one question. I think now would be a great time to answer some questions coming through the comments. And I will mention, because I know when we do a lot of these live streams, there's switcher specific questions come through as well. So we're going to focus here on questions for Zoe and Richard and their setups. And if you guys have the switcher specific questions, you can join us in the Facebook 101 group, which is a different group. And I'll be going live later this afternoon, and we can answer all those questions there for sure. But I know there was one coming through asking, with the reopenings happening, will you continue live streaming? And are you changing any of your plans with hopefully the pandemic coming to a close here?
So we are going to continue with the live streams, and we'll also continue with the paid for online classes. I would say the only thing that's changed is how often we're going to run them. So I know I mentioned earlier that we used to do 2 a week, then we put it down to 1 a week, and we've decided to do it 2 a month now, and we're doing 1 on the Tuesday morning at the beginning of each month, and then we altered the second one per month to be in the evening, so that it is more convenient for people that can't watch during the day. So we have taken it down to 2, mainly because there's not as many viewers during the day since people are starting to go back to work, but also it gives us time to get on with picking and packing like the products that people are buying to post out. But yeah, the online classes are going to continue. So even though when things go a bit more back to normal, I'll start running face-to-face classes again, I don't think I'll run as many face-to-face ones as what I used to do, because the online ones, they're really good for people in other countries that couldn't get to a class of mine.
Just to give you a bit, the online classes, we actually do use the Switcher Studio 4. So we, like say, we still live stream all the online classes that people pay for using the Switcher Studio setup. So, you know what I mean? So it's used for that purpose as well. We actually use Switcher Studio to record videos that we aren't actually live streaming either, don't we? So we'll record them into like dummy groups.
Yeah, so we've been doing that today. You could probably see the bits that have been doing today, little cookies I've been making today, and
in that camera.
See, this is why I'm not left in charge of it. I think I can't work out what camera angles what. So we were live streaming into a group, but a private group where we're the only members, so no one else can see it. But then we can download the footage afterwards, and I can cut it and do what I want with it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So we use it for quite a variety of purposes, apart from the actual, like say, live streaming itself as well.
That's very smart. I love hearing those things too, of people being creative and intuitive with the software and making it work for them as well. Ryan, I'm going to start telling everybody out there where they can find more of this information. But if you have any other questions, you can either put them up on the screen or Slack them to me, and I'll make sure we can talk to those as well. Oh, here's another one from Haley. I think Haley's here just because I see she's giving Chewbacca a hug there, and I know we just said the May 4th Chewbacca cake. So, do you plan out the structure of your tutorials for your live streams? There's more to it. How did you find a good flow that people could follow? Is the rest of that question.
I make it up as I go along. I wish I could say there was more organization. No, tomorrow's one that we're doing, because we're doing it in partnership with you guys tomorrow. So it's in partnership with Switcher Studio. Because it's in partnership, I felt like I should do a bit more organizing than what I normally do. So I did like a practice one. And then I haven't actually written down the tools and equipment for it, because I wasn't quite that organized. But I've done a practice one so that I could show people in advance what we're going to be making, whereas often I don't even get as far as that. As far as planning it out, sometimes I might think that there's a picture that I want to show people in the video, or I'll say to Richard, can you put this up on screen, this text, to remind people about something. But
we have done,
I don't usually plan it out very much, do I? It's
when we have got like
make it up as we go along.
We've got like a Zoe's Fancy Cakers community group on Facebook. We do sometimes put polls in there occasionally, haven't we, where we've asked people to vote what they'd like to see next week. So we've given them like 5 or 6 choices, and then the one with the most votes we kind of
That's usually what
Mhm.
use as the basis for next week. So we have done that a few times, and that gets people involved, and that's works quite well. It also takes the pressure from us having to decide what we're making and what you're making.
apart from sometimes it's things that are too difficult for me to make in a live stream. I mean, the only things I really have to plan is that it's something that doesn't take too long. I think initially I used to be able to do them all in about an hour, and gradually they're just creeping over and over and over. So like tomorrow's, I'm expecting to be about 2 hours. I know the practice one actually took me longer than 2 hours, but I'll get a few things prepped.
You've done it once now. You'd be quick.
Yeah, I'll get a couple of things prepped in advance, ready,
Sure.
then yeah, it should be a bit quicker tomorrow.
Yeah, because that's a good question. I mean, with a live stream, so we never quite know how long we want you on to be for live, if you know what I mean. Because obviously
Mhm.
people are watching you there, and you like to see because it's live. And it's one thing we never really thought about it too much to start with, did we?
No.
About
So,
how
I mean,
long?
some people will watch us all day.
Yeah,
The hardcore ones will watch all day, and then obviously some people will start to get a bit bored after an hour. I know sometimes people will say, "Can I fast forward this bit?" And we have to say, "Not while it's live. Once we finish live, then you can go backwards and
Go
forwards."
back,
While
yeah.
I'm live, yeah, you can't fast
Mhm.
forward to me.
That would be an impressive feat if we're able to fast forward live video. Just going through, seeing some other comments. I see a really nice comment here from Deborah Scott, just basically praising how good your setups are and how
Bless them.
how great your everything is that you're doing. I know the whole thing isn't going to show up there on screen, but yeah, thank you, Deborah, for that. I see another comment coming through here saying they would indeed watch all day. Yeah.
if they recognise a few
Yeah,
of
we
these
recognize
names,
all these.
Yeah.
names.
Good.
There are
Good.
lovely watchers.
Yeah. I see Julie asked the question too. I think this is right after we went over it, but was asking, do you use Switcher for your paid classes as well?
Yeah.
And yes is the answer to that one. Well, Richard, Zoe, can't thank you enough for coming on and hanging out and answering questions and sharing your experiences with all of us. So yeah, go check that out if anybody's interested. ZoeFancyCakes.co.uk. You can also check them out on YouTube. It's just Zoe's Fancy Cakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And same thing on Facebook. We'll get you there. I'll tell you what, I'm not a baker myself, but I'm one of those people who will watch a DIY or someone make something to see how the heck you make something so pretty. So yeah, you have a subscriber on the YouTube channel from me at least, just so you can watch these things be made. So yeah, also on Instagram there, Zoe's Fancy Cakes. I assume if you just type into Google or your search engine or any of the social media.
Okay. There's, this is a little more involved, obviously, with the making such complex products. But I could see many of you even partnering on a show where you could combine a couple of products or a couple of lines of products, particularly if it's in the context of making something like a recipe or a meal or whatever. So one other thing I wanted to point out that I believe it was last Saturday night, for the first time ever, Chris Rock, the comedian, did a live stream performance on Netflix. I believe it's the first live streaming performance that Netflix has ever had. So this is really a coming medium. There's no question about it, that you're going to see it more and more. And I think I encourage everybody to really look at it and figure out how it might make sense for what you're doing. Anybody want to comment or ask any questions?
Hello.
Yeah, Branson, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a multicam Meebo system with it's the same software as the Switcher system. So if anybody needs to do those type of videos, that's a service my company offers. And also we have a podcast studio that you can come in and do interviews and set up to do demos and different things if people need to do that.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. Anyone else? Any questions? One of the things I really want to highlight is this split screen capability, because many of you will want to have a guest, or perhaps you'll be a guest on someone else's show. I know that Kime with Opal's Candies has done a fair amount with an online farmers market out of, I think it's outside of Greensboro. So they have that ability to do the split. And we're going to be talking about an organization called Talk Shop Live. I'm working on getting a deal with them for you all, so that you can use that platform. They're really coming on strong. They got a bunch of celebrities that use the platform. If you get a chance to check it out, Talk Shop Live. They have a deal with Walmart. They have a deal with a bunch of big companies. And what I'm trying to get them to do is to give us our own channel that would be just for what we're doing. I don't know, call it Specialty Foods or Shop Rural or Accelerate Rural. I don't know how it all come about, but I am trying to get us our own channel where your shows could go. And they also have the ability to add those shows to your website, whether you have Shopify or not. So that's kind of cool. So you could have appear in multiple locations at the same time. So, well, that's what I have for today. Tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about using YouTube, which I think is kind of a no-brainer since it's such a big platform with so many people on it. We'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. So thanks for coming on, and we'll see y'all later.
Hey, Dennis, I'm
Yeah.
heading to Myrtle Beach. I am supposed to be going to the Cheney Brothers show and celebrate my birthday too, but their food show is tomorrow. So I'll try to get on, but I'll have to see between the time I'm there.
No problem at all. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. Y'all have